They're coming to Fallsview Casino April 25th. What can people expect from the show?
Well, this is as I said, it kind of gets messy with me in my head because I said I've been doing so many other things lately. Finished this Shifting Gears for ABC. We're in the middle of Toy Story 5.
Hmm.
All of this centers around the comedy that I've been doing since I grew up in Denver, moved to Detroit, and when I was a young guy in Detroit, we started doing stand-up comedy for the Comedy Castle there in Detroit. And all of this keeps coming back to me, especially on the East Coast, touring this whole area when I was a kid. And
Hmm.
home improvement started from my act. My act started, I was the only guy talking about lawn mowing, tools, grunting, all of that. And so home improvement started there. And then when I get back on the road, this has been probably the longest break I've had, which is two or 3 months, which isn't a lot. Because the
Hmm.
Vegas venue, I work Vegas quite a bit. And the venue there, the Mirage, has been sold to the Hard Rock, which they're switching over. So I've not been doing that. And we finished our first season of Shifting Gears, moved to our second season, and thank gosh. And now I'm back on the road doing these gigs. And I said, it's such a shifting gears, if you will, to get back into doing stand up. And it's funny, it's funny. I just thought about this the other day. I'm such a fan of Jim Gaffigan and so many other the guys, the young guys in the comics. I feel like the old guard. I would see the do comedy all the time, so it's new material. My material is evolved certainly quite a bit since for 30 years. I'm more like a bullet, a pill to me. I, I I don't do I do a little bit of up front of what's happening in my life and how I got here, but mostly this is a an exercise. My comedy's always been that, and how to get you laughing in that audience, like Richard Pryor got me laughing. And it's most about timing and pushing the boundaries and getting you thinking, but mostly about making people laugh. And so I'm geeked about this. I haven't I've done this event. I can't believe it's been this many years, probably 4 or 5 years since I've been East Coast this far. Been usually doing Southwest and Southeast
Hmm.
and Midwest. So I'm really geeked about coming up there. I said, this is, the last time we were here, I think my opening act forgot his passport. So we got it, we got to the gate. If we did have a passport, we had to, horrible event to try to get back through because
Right.
they don't like you coming through the border without a passport.
Right. Now, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but going from filming, doing shifting gears, and to touring, is it like a breath of fresh air to get on the road? Like you said, you've been doing this forever, and this is kind of what you got your start in. What's it like kind of going back to that and going like, you're like you said, East Coast versus West Coast, things like that, touring.
There's nothing like live shows.
Hmm.
I don't have an editor. I don't have lighting. I mean, I do a little pre-production and we have a pretty big show of opening act Lowell Sanders for almost 25, 30 years. He's been working with me. And my production team puts together a nice upfront show. So it's a little bit more show busy than most stand-ups because I always liked staging. That said, the older I get, the less I like, still do my own ironing in my clothes in my room, and I get the food up front and all that. And get to the point where I'm not as comfortable traveling as I used to be,
Hmm.
hotels and all that stuff. Once I get on stage, I absolutely had a life-changing experience many, many years ago at the Fox Theater in Detroit, Michigan, with Richard Pryor. And I said, if I can get anywhere near what he did to me, to other people, I laughed so hard. I changed everything about laughter is the best medicine. Forget about everything that was going on in my life and you have a sense of humor about it. Even tragedies, as mean as that sounds, to have a little smile and go, this too shall pass. There's nothing like doing stand-up comedy. There's still areas in me. I'm not saying I will do it for free, but I would almost do it for free because I get more joy out of knocking these big bits into a cadence to get people laughing without a breath. And that's what Pryor did to me. And so that part is a blessing.
And now, like you said, shifting gears, to the show. Like you said, just renewed for season two, set a bunch of records on ABC for the premiere. You're working with Kat Dennings and Sean William Scott. And so I guess this question is more about how this shows a change for you, Tim Allen, but also for your characters. Going from Tim Taylor raising three boys in Home Improvement, then Mike Baxter raising, three young women, and now shifting gears, you're raising an adult daughter and her kids. And so I guess as that kind of guiding, nurturing figure in all of these shows, what like have you learned what um how have you changed as an actor in this time?
Boy, that's a big question. I said what I've learned in this one is it's becoming more and more centered around the actual seed, if you will, of the comedian, the actor that I play. I've been able to help create this so that he's centered around cars, because
Mhm.
I've done construction equipment, which I love, outdoor equipment, which I love. I had three sons, then three daughters. I wanted to, out of balance, I wanted a loving relationship with wives. I love production, the look of it, that's all very good. This time the guy lost his wife.
Mhm.
So he's dealing with grief. Life is changing where the people that do stuff with their hands aren't as appreciated as I wish they were. So I'm dealing with that in a dance studio next door that is invigorating because it's about the live arts,
Mhm.
which I find my niece is a ballet dancer in Washington, and I never really understood ballet until I see how much work she does and how people do it for the love of that craft. I still don't understand it when I see ballet. However, the talent and the skill set. So this guy gets to combine the art. And then a daughter that looks like and reminds me of my late wife, the guy who lost his wife. He's an artist, a designer. So he's different than the other characters I played where they were more pragmatic or business type guys. Tim
Mhm.
Taylor, who knows what he was. This guy is a frustrated designer because the way it's set up was he was going to go to Rhode Island School of Design and become an industrial designer. And his father, Pat, got real sick, so he had to leave school and come back and take care of his dad's business. So he never really got to do that. Still is an artist. There's a little bit of that frustration with you deal with life as life comes to you. His wife passes, daughter who left home when she was at 19 or 20 and got pregnant with a musician. And I didn't like how we left it. Haven't spoken to her much. My wife passed away. She's come back home with a broken marriage. This sounds like a drama. And all that aside, I didn't throw her out, and she did come ask for help. And then we get a new, and I love the kids we've got in it. And I love the cantankerous, and she is a chip off the old block. And we will grow into this relationship. It's been a remarkable blessing to have cast her, and we connect. I feel we connect. I'm actually listening to her in scenes. I mean, I'm a comedian, really. I've
Mhm.
learned from great actors how to act and how to do better at acting. But this gets real sometimes, and it's about differences of opinion, and it's not political like today. It's more about being funny
Mhm.
and getting past stuff and what aligns us and how do we fix things. And this is what this is about: is fixing things, rebuilding. I call it resto mods because that's why I build hot rods. I love building hot rods, and so it's resto, making old things. Don't throw things out. How do we make old things better again? How can we upgrade old things? So that's what this is about.
And you also mentioned Toy Story 5. I went as Buzz Lightyear for Halloween when I was 5 years old. So this is a big question. Is there anything you can tell me about Toy Story 5? I know a lot of it's probably under wraps.
I can tell you that it's a lot about Jesse. So
Okay.
Tom and I do, or Woody and I do realign, and there's a unbelievable opening scene with Buzz Buzz Light years. I can give you that, but I can't give you much more.
Okay. That's good to know. Now, back to the show at Fallsview. Well, really any of it. Is there anything I haven't asked about that you would like the people of Western New York and Southern Ontario to know ahead of the show?
I was just thinking about this today. I called my two older brothers. We spent some of my great grandmas from London.
Mhm.
Ontario, and then we spent most of our summers in Bayfield, Ontario. And it just occurred to me every time I go back to Canada, why do I know so much about Canada? Because I think half my family's Canadian, and we never even think about that.
Mhm.
It's so funny about that. And all I kept thinking about was the cars when we were growing up. If I got it right, and my Canadian side will call me up and say, "Tell me, they didn't have Mercuries, they had Meteors. They didn't call Mercuries Canadian built cars. They called them different names, and I can't remember that one. And it was always Davenport and Chesterfield and Cadbury's. Everything was very, they always called half of my family downstaters, and every time I go to Canada, I don't know why I feel so at home, and it's partly to do with that, and also we've shot both Santa Clauses were one was in Toronto and one was in Vancouver. So I'm geeked to get back to do. I've done this gig many times, and it's just a. I love this area. If I trying to explain to my people that haven't ever been anywhere near Buffalo or the Niagara Falls is what I'm getting at, and I'm a big. I've visited all the major falls in the world, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like the area, nothing like these two communities. So I'm geeked.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you for taking the time today to speak with me about this all, and I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good day.
You too.